Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Tao Podcast. Today, we are going to explore many topics that are going to be of a lot of interest for everybody because we're going to talk about how you can get to your goals and by considering something extremely important, which is money. And we are going to explore why you may be struggling. Why do I struggle? Why everybody struggles with money? And is that our fault? Like, are we doing something wrong? But for that, today we have a very special guest. We have our friend Avi. Avi, welcome to Towel Podcast. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you, Gabbo. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. And before we start, I would like you to kind of talk a little bit more of what you do because I feel it's very not only interesting, but I think is helpful and essential for people to develop this kind of understand, from a maybe more emotional side, why they do what they do with money. And you have a very specific project that like you kind of coach people about that. Can you explain to the audience what you do and how you do it?
Sure. So I founded a company called Euphinance. So it's a combination of the words euphoria and finance. So basically, it's about helping young professionals achieve happiness through smart financial management. So the goal here really is first figuring out what do you actually want in life? What makes you happy? And figuring out how money can help you get there. And I work a lot with different money strategies, like saving strategies, investing strategies, kind of balancing those two, how to think about what you're purchasing, things like that. So yeah, my product offerings are like I do one-on-one coaching, and I'm also working on a SaaS product. So it's a web application that does it will track your spending as well as how you feel about it. So think of like you can look at trends and graphs that show both your emotions over time and also your spending over time.
The key word today, I think, is emotion, right? Because a lot of people may not realize, including myself, like why I feel a specific way about money, right? And that's very important. I want to emphasize, why do I feel a certain way about money, right? And in general, a lot of people, including myself, again, like I used to think like it was a lack of information, lack of knowledge. And I used to feel really bad about it. I was like, okay, what I'm missing, right? And overall, one of the main concerns for humanity is it's money, right? Why do people struggle with money?
So first thing is they don't really teach you about money in school. So at least in the United States, like we don't have a class that teaches you how to manage money, how to think about money, how to use money. It's kind of just something we all stumble into. So there's like, for example, for me, like I majored in chemical engineering. So I had a lot of advanced math classes, right? I had calculus, I had, all these things and did a lot of advanced math, but I never had a class that said, oh, let me teach you how to figure out how to spend. Let me teach you the basis of personal finance. Like never had a class like that, right? So because of that, people tend to struggle because they don't have a formal education. So basic on money. So basically it's, whatever you learned from your environment, which, may or may not be correct. A lot of times money habits are passed down from generations. Like if someone's parents are bad with money, they might be bad with money too.
Yeah.
So
I think people only have access to that knowledge if they decide to pursue a degree in economics or finance. But overall, it's not like readily available, right?
So people can have the knowledge if they seek it out, right? So they need to be able to say, okay, I'm going to search online or I'm going to, follow someone or like get a coach that will help me explore these topics, but they have to do that work, right? It's not something that's given to them. Like everyone learns how to add and subtract in school, right? So that's a given. Like most people know how to do that because they learn it in school, but they don't learn how, the basics of personal finance in school.
Yeah. Yeah, so they don't learn that. And I agree. We need to be proactive in that way, right? And do you think it's also like cultural? Because I feel that the system is kind of designed like you just work, and kind of survive, and basically like a lot of us just work to survive to make it to the next day.
Yeah, to some degree, yes. definitely that culture of consumerism, right? Like we want to buy things, right? We want, like, marketing is very effective now with social media, with all the data they collect on each individual person, so they know exactly how to sell to you what they want to sell to you,
Yeah.
right? So because of that, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, that looks cool, I want to buy that,
Yeah.
right? And they'll just buy it, right? And there a lot of, like, that type of behavior, I think, causes people to not be on top of their finances because it's the marketer that's kind of making the decision in a way of like, oh yeah, buy this thing from me, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of people don't, because and caught up in the heyday of you work, you come home, do stuff at home, hang out with friends. So money is just one more thing you have to think about.
Yeah.
So when like, if you don't really take the time to think about it, like, okay, how are you going to use it? What, like, are your money rules? Like, how are you going to spend? How are you going to save? How are you going to invest? If you don't really think about it, then I guess the people around you do it for you, right? Like whoever's trying to sell you something or whatnot. So
Yeah. So basically, everybody is after our money,
yeah.
especially in marketing.
Oh, everybody, right? Like, it's especially with social media now, because, like, there's just, people are trying to sell everything, right? Like, it's like gadgets, phones, experiences,
Mhm.
subscriptions, like everything, right?
Yeah.
So
I think we're already tapping into, is that my fault that I'm struggling with money? But what I'm understanding is like not necessarily,
no.
partially maybe, but I'm subject to, I'm the target also from many different campaigns,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the whole system's flawed. Like, number one, as I mentioned, they don't teach you like money principles in school. So there's no formal basis for learning it, right? So
Mhm.
you're kind of like going to the world and you're like stumbling across this, right? It's like, okay, now you have to figure it out as you go. So, no, I don't think it's an individual's fault. And I think that they also need to, what's the word? Like if they don't have the right influences in their lives, like if their parents aren't good with money or like people around them are not, then it's hard for them to also become good. And then the other thing is, money has so much shame and stigma around it. Like most people, like 50% of young professionals don't want to like talk about how their money situation is,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of shame in that, right? It's like, it's kind of like, oh, you talk about it, and then it's like it's hard to admit that, oh, I'm struggling in this way, or I have some anxiety in this way,
Mhm.
especially because there's so many, because all the stories you see on social media are people like, oh, look at all these, my vacation, or look at
Yeah.
all these cool things I bought. Like no one really, like, people talk less about, oh, like I'm struggling in this way or I feel this way.
Yeah. So historically speaking, social media. Let me take a step back. I have been criticizing social media for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, my opinion is biased, and it doesn't capture the essence, the entire essence of social media for sure. But I think social media portrays a lot of non-realistic scenarios for people. And what you're mentioning is very important, right? Because we are constantly observing people, like with very expensive clothes, very expensive cars, very expensive whatever, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, what I feel is that, specifically in the US, the economy is based on credit, right? How much money you spend. And that makes people an easy target for, selling them like anything. You can basically buy whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Here is it's already available. But let me kind of recap what we have discussed, and we can maybe attack a little bit what people can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is, we don't have that kind of education, and or we are not taught how money works, how it operates, and how we can make it work for us, right? But also, we are subject to cultural context, social context, and historical context, right? Because we don't determine the year where we are born or the year where we are
Mm-hmm.
going to turn 18. Like
Mm-hmm.
all this economic crisis, like financial crisis and the market crash, it's not our fault, right? So
No.
we can't control that. So there are many factors that we can't control. So, and that's a very important aspect of what we were discussing earlier, the emotion, right? I think one of the worst things we can do is feel
Oh
bad
yeah,
about our
that's
decisions.
yeah, feeling guilt is like the number one thing that someone has to overcome. If they're working on their finances, overcoming guilt and shame and kind of beating themselves up, that is the first thing, and it's a very important thing to tackle, because when that's there, like it just slows you down so much. Like I've worked with people that it's like something like once they got over that, they're like, oh, this thing that we were trying to do is so simple. I'm like, yeah, it's just your emotion of feeling like down on yourself and feeling guilty and having made mistakes before that like slows you down because you're just like so guilty about it.
Yeah. And like something I have mentioned a few times in the past is that we feel way worse when we uh, let's put it in terms of finances. We're gonna feel really bad when we lose $1,000 in a bad investment compared to how good we're gonna feel if we made $1,000 in an
Oh yeah,
investment.
there's a rule for that. I forget what it's exactly called actually, but there's a law or a paradox or something. Like there's a name for this, but it's like yeah, like losing the same amount of money and gaining the same amount of money, the amount you of pain you feel when you lose it is pretty much double the satisfaction you feel when you get something. So losing something feels much worse
Yeah.
than gaining. And the other thing is that like okay, like so I heard this analogy in a book somewhere, but it's like okay, so if you climbed from like let's say you climbed a tower, right? Like you had 100 floors, you went from floor 0 to floor 90, and then let's say you made some mistake and you fell from like floor 90 to like floor 50, you're going to feel much worse about having that big fall from 90 to 50 than you'll feel about oh, I went from 0 to 50.
Yeah.
Right? Falling and losing like feels really bad.
Yeah.
And that's just how humans are wired, right? We don't like to lose.
Mhm.
And we're not necessarily going to be like, "Oh, hey, I lost. This didn't work." Right? For me, like it's not something that you're going to share with people. It's likely not something you're going to post on social media, right? It's
Mhm.
you're going to post your highlights, right? That's probably why they call it highlights, because it's
Yeah.
like the highlights,
Mhm.
right? Not like the low lights.
I never thought about that, but that's so true.
Yeah.
Highlight. So that's another thing that we can add to the list of why it's not our fault.
Mhm.
Like we are biologically designed to feel more the pain compared to the excitement or the positive side of things, right? Like that's
Yeah.
decoded and encoded in our genes.
It is, and I think the reason for that in the old days, like so, when humans were, I guess, were a young set of creatures, right? Like it was like okay, there were so many dangers out in the wild that you were like very perceptive to okay, if something feels bad, I want to be very aware of it because this could be something that kills me, right? Like if you're like when we were like living in tents and in the wild, it's like okay, if like a pack of coyotes attacks or something, it's like okay, you want to be very sensitive to that, so it's like okay, I need to do something about it now,
Yeah.
right? But today, I think we live in houses and structures that are relatively safe. I think danger or negativity, like it doesn't need to be that big of a thing that we dwell on so much
Yeah.
anymore. But evolution and genes, it's just hard to change, right? I mean, that's why news stories, like most news stories, are negative because it just gets into our psyche more. Like we feel it more.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And I can compare that to the like I love music.
mm-hmm.
And it's crazy how so many songs have been written based on negative emotions, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful, right? Like writing about like a negative feeling. I think it's essential for someone to release that negative emotion in that way, in that poetic way, in that artistic way.
Mm-hmm.
But there is one more time, like why we, like are prone to feel these negative emotions. Again, it's not our fault. But now, what do you think people can do? And I think you mentioned an important word, which was aware, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think the first step is to be aware of the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the beauty of this episode is that we are bringing that awareness to people.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think are some steps that people can take in order to improve how they feel about money and how they can get to their goals?
So I think one step is people should really think about what do they actually want in life and what's important to them. Not because someone else is telling them that this is what you should have, but like what do you actually want?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of making a list of that. And when they feel bad about something, it's kind of like they can say, okay, is this like on my list of what I wanted, or was this just because someone else said that, oh, this is bad?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think just, practice being nice to yourself. Like, if you, even if you screw something up, because it's going to happen, right? Like, it's like if you're like, I don't know, spending a lot or spending haphazardly and like don't have your finances in order. Well, guess what? The first time you try to do it, like it's not fully going to come in order, right? You're going to make mistakes. So I think being kinder to yourself when you do make mistakes of like, oh yeah, it's the learning process. I can improve and get better. So, and kind of overcoming that shame. And I think it helps to have good people around you. Like if you have, a coach who's, sympathetic, then, they can help you navigate that. If you have family and friends. So yeah, I mean, being nice to yourself and also having people around you that are going to help you be nice to yourself. 'Cause it's hard to do by yourself sometimes. Like you need to have loved ones or, friends that can help.
There's a study I was reading last week, I believe, and it was talking about a group of people, and they were trying to understand the connections, um, human to human, the
Mm-hmm.
non-verbal, non-physical connections, and they put a group of people together, and they most of them were divorced,
Mm-hmm.
and the outcome of the study was if you were married or if you were in a relationship
Mm-hmm.
and you're hanging out with people who are divorced, your chances for divorce increase.
Oh yeah.
And this is not just about divorce, right? It's exactly how you are building your social circle around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you really want to be surrounded by people who are um, financially versed, that they know maybe not everything, but something.
Oh
At least
yeah.
they have that view on where they want to go, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I fully agree with that. I think that, I mean, they say that your personality over time becomes like the five people you're most around, right?
Mhm.
It's like a sum of all that. So yeah, definitely, think that it's important to be around people that are either wanting to work on their finances too, or people that have done it already,
Yeah.
and people that are really positive on themselves. Because there are a lot of people that, like, I've worked with people that have people in their lives that are like very good with finances, but they're like the type that it's like, oh, I'm good with finances and you're not, therefore something's wrong
Ah.
with you and you just need to get your act together, right? Like, not those type of people, because like those type of people make like people feel much worse. Like, oh my god, like that's what creates this behavior of like, I don't even want to talk about money, right? That's why like 50% of people are like, I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think having, people that are working on it, that are also good in money, and also people that are kind and empathetic when you make a mistake. And
Mhm.
maybe it's not a single group of people that have all those qualities. Maybe it's like some people are good with money, some people are nice, some people are, closer to you, some people are on the same path. So I think having like that social network around you and trying to find friends and connections, and even I guess coaches, if that, that's what you need, but like finding those people around you, is a good step that will help one go far in their money journey, and also any other journey they want to go on in life.
It's kind of building. I love having coaches, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's very important, right? Because that talks in so many different layers, right? Is talking that okay, like I'm also dealing with my ego,
Mm-hmm.
like I, I I have to be honest with myself, and I have to admit that there's a lot of things that I don't know, and
Mm-hmm.
someone else may know. So the act of me going to someone and asking for an advice is already kind of humbling in that way. Like I'm opening. I'm like, I don't know anything. I need an advice. But at the same time, someone having that will, or they trying to help others, it's also important. So you can get a coach, but you can also coach other people, right?
Oh yeah, they say when you coach someone about something, you actually become better at it
Yeah.
yourself. Like when I started doing financial coaching, I think that my knowledge and I guess my breadth of experience and just understanding of personal finance has gone up,
Mhm.
just because I talk about it more, talk to more people about it. Before it was just me working, in engineering and kind of doing it on my own for myself. But yeah, like I think, coaching people on it and talking to people about it has made me more knowledgeable about it too. So yeah, I feel that everyone, like, if they're good at something, then yeah, definitely find someone to coach about it.
And even these kind of conversations help a lot, like it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be on a podcast, like it can be on the
No,
comfort on someone's living
absolutely.
room.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think having good conversations around, different subjects that are interesting, especially money, is very helpful. It, increases both people's understanding, because as you said before, right, you might know something that I don't know, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So
So in summary, people struggle with money because basically we are designed for for that. But let me hear what you how you would summarize what we discussed, which is why people struggle with money and why it's not their fault.
So people struggle with money because, they haven't had, I don't think it's ever been part of the education system to teach you how to work with money. So, people kind of just do, I guess, what their parents or other elders did, and they didn't have it in their education system either. So I think it's been a behavior that's just become common in society. So I think that makes us more susceptible to the different habits that make us bad with money, like consumerism or, feeling bad about seeing something on social media or seeing like someone's life's highlights.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think what we can do about it is really finding a community that is working on money or good with money, or people that are empathetic. So when you're working on it, then it's not like you make a mistake and like they beat you down.
Yeah.
Right. So I think finding a good community, finding coaching if that's what's needed, I think those are good steps. So basically, in every way, it's changing the people around you.
Yeah.
I think because there are people out there that are excellent with money, right? And there are people out there that have been bad with money and they've worked themselves up to be much better. So I think seeking those out, even if they are like online people you follow, I think that's a step that everyone can take. That's one of the positives of social media and the digital world. It's like it's very easy to find people, right? Like it's in 1950s, like if you were bad with money, your family was bad with money, you'd probably have to like find like a physical group.
Yeah.
Right. Like today you can probably find a subreddit, you can find like, someone on someone's profile on social media, you can find all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm. So. And it's crazy how emotions really govern so much of our financial decisions.
Emotions govern all of our decisions, not just our financial decisions, right? Like most of our decisions are emotional.
Yeah.
That's what makes us human, right? Otherwise we'd be robots.
Mm-hmm. And nowadays we can see that more because I know a lot of people who are following the markets really, really close. And there's a lot of brilliant people with PhDs in physics, mathematics, trying to develop models, predictive models for the next financial recession or the next movement or a specific share or stock. And it's crazy how a president's tweet can defeat every single predictive algorithm. And it's because it's ruled by emotions. We get triggered when we read the news. We get triggered when we know any type of information comes, right?
And that's really what causes markets to go up and down in the short term. Yeah. It's like people's emotions, right? When 9/11 happened in 2001, they had to close the stock market because like people were just selling because they're like, oh, this is like the end, right? So they had to like close the stock market to prevent like the market from like, really going down so much. Yeah. So the government does that sometimes, not often, but they do that sometimes. So yeah, it's all about emotions, but like over time with the stock market, like it does, like Warren Buffett, who's the world's greatest investor, says that over time the stock market is like a weighing machine. It actually measures how well the company or like the group of companies or the country's economy is doing over time. In the short term, it's just how people feel. Like usually markets go up around December because people are excited for Christmas, right? They usually like, go up like when summer starts a little bit. Like it's one of those things. It's just human emotion, right? But in the short term, like my view is in the short term, like I don't really care what happens. As long as you're confident that what you're invested in, and if you're invested in an index fund for the country, as long as you're confident your country will do fine over time, then it doesn't matter that much.
But for that, and as you well said, people need to be clear on what their long-term goals or where they want to be in the long term, right?
Absolutely. And not just the long term, even the short term, right? Because I think a lot of people, at least for me, like a lot of older people in my life are like, oh, just max out your 401k, right? And it's like, okay, like, so what do I do before that? Like, what if I want to do something in my late 30s, my 40s? Like, what do I do then? Like, it's like if all my money's in my 401k, it's like, what if I don't make it to 60? Right. So it's like, so you have to have a balanced life. Right. And that's one of like the philosophies of, my company. It's like, okay, you want to design things so that every stage of life, you're getting the maximum enjoyment. Yeah. So you're enjoying what you want to now, but you're also planning for your future.
Yeah. Avi, this has been a great conversation. Really appreciate you being here. And can you repeat again your how people can find you and get in touch with you?
Yep. So you can find me on social media. So I have Instagram. I have TikTok. It's Euphinance, my company name. That's the account name. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name, Avi Kapadia. You can search that. You can also go to euphinance.com.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you, Gabbo.